What it do? This is the War Room with P Mac, and I am your host. I am you. That's P Mac. What it do, man?
Yo, man, thanks, Thiz, man. What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode 3. 3 is a magical number around here because, Mahomes, 3 championships right now, baby. Welcome to the
Yeah.
third episode of the War Room with PMAC. And, man, what a special Victory Monday edition it is, man. And here with Thiz, my co host, man. We're here to talk about not only just these players, but what happened last night, which arguably could be going down as one of the greatest Super Bowls of all time, and it was one of the longest Super Bowls of all time. But a W is a W, baby, back to
Let-
back.
Let's discuss. First of all, we got three things we're going to discuss today. The first one is we're going to talk about the third championship for Patrick Mahomes, the fourth for the Chiefs. In general, we're going to talk about that situation for a little while. Then we'll get into our second topic, which is whether we should draft a QB or we should keep Gabbard. We'll talk about that for a little while. And last but not least, we will discuss your latest mock draft. And I gave you a challenge last week. So let's um, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So first and foremost, we you you we talked about a certain topic last week, but bigger things are at stake right now. Let's talk about the Chiefs winning Super Bowl 58. And 58 means a lot to Chiefs fans because Derek Thomas
Yeah.
wore the number 58 and he was lost a long time ago and he was at the top of his game. He was doing great, then got into a car wreck. It was doing fine in the hospital, and then next thing you know, we lost him due to blood clots, and it was bad. So we appreciate everything he meant to the city, everything he meant to the team, and so it was good to see that we brought home this trophy in Super Bowl 58. But with that being said, what did winning this Super Bowl mean? Like, how do you feel about winning this Super Bowl?
Man, this is what I could say. Well, first and foremost, like I mentioned to you over the last 2 episodes, I used to work with the Chiefs as a ticket taker, a GSR man, and if I was there in this year to be a defending champion, even leaving in that place last July, it's still a good feeling, man. Almost like I never left in a way, but it's great to see the city celebrate this morning, bro. Especially here in Lawrence, Kansas, University of Kansas down here is celebrating the win, and it just means a lot, man, especially for Patrick. I'm actually happy for Patrick and those guys in that locker room, man, because and even the coaches, everybody went through their doubt. And I even said some things about certain players. Even when I said what I said about MVS, he still showed up like he did last night. And I'm proud of him. And whatever happens with him this offseason, I'm still proud of him. And, he'll be one of those guys like, hey, man, can I get a picture? Because you're still a legend in my eyes. Business is business, but you're still a great human being. And you went out there and did your job. And McCole Hardman, bro. I mean, McCole. I've been saying it since December. I even said it since we traded back for him. He's
You
going to
did.
provide a spark. He might not be the same guy, but that little bit of speed, which that still is his strength to his skill set, and even still considered one of the best deep threats coming out of the 2019 draft. He still showed it last night, and I saw some vintage stuff from the Chiefs, just like that last touchdown to McCole resembled the overtime touchdown as you mentioned, thanks to Josh Allen and the Bills, they resembled that game-winning touchdown that I saw at Arrowhead in person when we went to the AFC Championship against the Bengals that first time, and it was just so special, bro. And it was like seeing vintage moments that you've seen before being played out again, and it was just amazing. And there was another thing I forgot to mention as one of those things that we could have won the game, but I kind of told my guy Sosa Picks, shout out to you and the Niners, shout out to them as a team. They did a great job last night the way they played.
Yeah, they
But
did.
you know what I mean? But Charvarius Ward, I felt like going after him, and it reminded me, dang, he is one of the best corners in the game, but he's not that good against the red zone. Like if you remember that Hunter Renfro touchdown in the red zone two
I did.
seasons ago, which was his last season with the Chiefs, I thought all about that with those 2 touchdowns he allowed against McCole and the one against MVS earlier, and I thought, "Wow." And if Ward is listening, it's nothing against you, man. You know, the game is the game, and we're still proud of you, bro. And you know, it's just what it is. And other than that, that's all I gotta say about that. I'm happy for the city. I'm happy for Mahomes and his legacy. And now people are acknowledging that we're watching greatness right now, and there's no stopping it.
Shout out to McCole. I had my criticisms of McCole bringing him back from the Jets. I thought we could have used that on a lot better, much better way, in my opinion. But and it bared itself out that I was right at first, but then of course I can admit when I'm wrong, and he played a vital role in that win. So it was good to see that, and I'm glad he was able to do it. But I will say this: shout out to the Bills. Shout out to the Bills for changing
Thank
that
you for the
overtime
overtime rules,
rule.
Buffalo.
Thank you for changing that overtime rule, because had they not changed it, we would have lost that game.
Absolutely.
Period. We would have lost that game in the same way we won the game in 2019-20 So it would have been on a field goal on a field goal, and we would have lost it. So
Yeah.
shout out to the Bills, and it sucks that Kyle. Okay, let me ask you this: do you feel like Kyle didn't remember that was the overtime rules now? Because I did feel that way, but I wasn't sure that was it.
You talking about who didn't
No,
remember the overtime?
Kyle Shanahan,
Oh, I don't.
because you just mentioned it. You just mentioned it like 5 minutes ago that you don't think he remembered that the rules changed, and a lot of people didn't remember that the rules changed. They thought the first score was the winning score. I was
And
like,
that's the beauty of it, man. His mind wasn't there. I mean, like Shanahan, he was playing very conservative, man. Yeah, man, that's the gift that keeps on giving, Joseph. Absolutely, bro. Yeah, but that's the thing. I really think Kyle Shanahan was in a conservative mindset and
yeah,
didn't even think about it that way. Like, that's the thing. I think he might have thought if we scored the touchdown, they still got a chance to recap or whatever. But I didn't know that much about the rules. If you win by a touchdown, or if, especially with the field goal thing and everything else like that. So I think he still thought about that, and that's what happened there. But the Chiefs took advantage. I mean, they
yeah,
took advantage of the miscues caused by the 49ers, especially when they had chances on third downs, where there were moments you felt they could have converted against us on a third down. Our defense held their own, bro. Like
mhm,
everybody, from the D line, the linebackers to the secondary, everybody played their game, man. And if you're like McDuffie and Carl Loftus, like saying, bro, we're going back to back. This is in our first 2 years, especially Pacheco. He's the first running back in NFL history in his first 2 years to win back to back Super Bowls, like unheard of. And you're just proud of moments like that, bro. Almost like you're a proud brother or a parent. And I've also met some of those players too, and to see them be honest players, and that they're just like us, like we're talking like right now, and you're just happy
yeah.
for them. And yeah,
Yeah, so congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. And I was talking to PMac about these mock drafts that we do at the end of every show. At the end of every one of these shows, we do mock drafts. And I'm like, these things don't never have it where the Chiefs are 32. And this is a problem for me. But
31.
we were always 31. And there's nothing we can do to change that. But it is what it is. We just keep it moving. But this week there was a trade alert. So we'll talk about that. But right now, let's get into whether we should keep Blaine Gabbert or draft QB2.
Yes,
Question:
sir.
Should
Let's get
we
in.
should we draft a QB or keep Blaine Gabbert? So I'm gonna let you take it over.
All right. Man, so this leads me to this segment one here as you asked that question right here. When I look at this draft, right, kind of big picture, and then we'll get rolling on these questions. So to me, to talk about these guys, premier talent and depth at all these positions. KC is set for a long time with Mahomes, the reigning Super Bowl MVP, signed through Punt Gabbard, signed through 2031 season. There was the rumor before, the Super Bowl, Mahomes is poised to count $57.4 million against the cap this coming season. But Jonathan Jones, a reporter on X, noted a simple restructure that could be done this offseason can get that number down to around $20 million in hopes to, retain Chris Jones and L'Jarius Sneed, which I mentioned on the first episode of the two players that the Chiefs should try to bring back. There is a need to determine who Mahomes' backup needs to be, and that's just something that I've always felt seriously over the last two seasons, especially one of my articles I wrote about Stetson Bennett, which I'm going to get into later, especially part of this topic. You know, we all know about journeyman veteran Blaine Gabbert, who signed for 1 year. He's going to be a free agent to begin March coming up here. None of the backups is signed beyond 2023, though, and drafting a quarterback could signify a commitment to finding a long-term solution for Mahomes. So we asked the question: do we bring back Blaine, like you asking, or do we find a veteran in free agency or draft to groom one? So we're going to ask the question: what are the traits that teams are looking for in a backup quarterback? Is, you know what I mean? Pretty much the same as a starter, high level arm strength, accuracy, some good vision, the leadership skills, the footwork that has the ultra competitive edge. But where the better backups separate is when they need to keep that competitive edge while swallowing their ego and buying into the fact that they won't be and probably never be a regular season starter or just a regular starter. Let's say like the Mahomes of the world or the Lamar Jacksons or the Josh Allens or the Burrows or all those guys or even CJ Strouds. The backup has to love the purity of the game and be happy with a willingness to be part of something bigger than an individual piece. You know what I mean? Maybe looking forward to carving out a coaching or personnel career. Kevin O'Connell, Minnesota Vikings. Matt Nagy, Dougie P in Jacksonville. When looking at NFL prospect quarterbacks, there used to be a baseline for that size where they got to meet like 6'2", 220, pounds. That was the bottom line for a successful NFL quarterback. Then there were a few exceptions. Then there became Doug Flutie. Then came Drew Brees. Then came Russell Wilson. And then came Kyler Murray. Been given opportunities as smaller quarterbacks. Last draft proved that teams viewed the backup role as an investment. While the average NFL backup will make about $5 million or more on the open market, so that's why a valuable backup on a rookie contract was and is still incredibly important when the annual cost of retaining a franchise quarterback has really risen over the years.
Mm-hmm.
So, according to Over the Cap or Spot Track, the 34-year-old Blaine Gabbert received a veteran salary benefit with $1.165 million base salary last season. He also got 125,000 signing bonus with a 940,000 guaranteed at the signing. During the NFL season, he counted only $1 million against the salary cap. That's good. That's the type of number we want for a backup quarterback. But his stat line and his performance is just uninspiring. And you saw that in the final game of the season against the Chargers, including the preseason games. In the Bears game, when Mahomes came out after he put up like a 40 burger on them. And he did manage the team to win that last game of the season, with those few scrambles that picked up 39 yards. And, I think Harrison Butker scored a game-winning field goal, 13-12. He'll find himself back on the market after the conclusion of this season. And I'm saying all this to say if the team wants to bank on a veteran, their cap limit for that veteran should be about between what Gabbert made last season to probably the highest $5 million. You can't exceed over that limit, or or at least the average $3 million, and guarantee him $2 million on average. And
Well,
it might be hard before you get to that part. It might be hard to find that person unless the Chiefs want to bring him
yeah.
back in year two.
And that's why this is a legitimate question, whether we should bring him back or not. First of all, let's get this straight. It's tough to learn Andy Reid's system as a QB. Period.
Right.
It's very complicated sometimes, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's not for the faint of heart, and it's not an easy system to learn. That's why first year rookies don't really get that kind of love, because we've heard Shady McCoy and all these guys say that he don't really talk to rookies. It's going to be different. It's been different with the Chiefs a little bit, but You gotta realize Andy Reid's system is very, very complicated. So we understand that.
Yeah.
Having Blaine Gabber in his second year possibly
Mhm.
would be an advantage for Gabbert. I don't think he was super dynamic last year, but he's a backup. You're not really supposed to be, right?
Exactly.
Um, with that being said, it's a little bit. I think I've always thought since 2018. Once I saw how good Mahomes was, I saw that they need to go draft a backup quarterback. I've always thought that for two reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, they can, once I see that Mahomes is starting to get everything they're throwing at him, and over the years we've seen it. He's grown as a not only a game manager. He managed that game last night. He put the team on his back when he needed to, but he also knows when to be lay back and be hands off and let his guys do the work so he doesn't have to do everything. As
Exactly.
let me give you a cross team comparison. Josh Allen. Josh Allen felt he had to do everything against the Chiefs in that playoff game. And he didn't trust his guys. Even when they dropped passes, he didn't trust them. So Mahomes is figuring out how to manage that side of his competitiveness. Like he's slowing his breathing down. Anyway, that's all it's another subject for another time.
Yeah.
But
So that's why I personally believe though, man, that they should, given the state of the depth chart, especially with this quarterback room here going into 2024, they should find a better veteran than Gabbard, or they shouldn't feel rushed to grab a quarterback early, you know. But look, in between round 4 to 7 at the draft, and even the college free agency period post the draft, to get that guy, because he ain't going after no Caleb Williams or no Jaden Daniels or no Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. or no even JJ McCarthy from Michigan. But you look at those guys in the tier below those guys, and they got that potential to develop into that quality backup,
yeah,
maybe become a spot starter someday. So
and you give them the opportunity to learn like you did with Tyler Bray. Tyler Bray was with this team for 4 years, a full contract. They get the team the chance to learn. They get the chance to grasp the concepts. They get the chance to learn behind a veteran, and
mhm,
then maybe you like year 4, year 5, you could see about using flipping them if you need to. If you want to keep them, you can. If you want to move elsewhere, you can flip them if you need to. Like that's high. I mean, that's best case scenario. But anyway, so so
yes, yes.
with that being said, are you more for keeping Gabbard, or are you lean towards the side of going to get a number two quarterback, whether it be through free agency or the draft? Which side are you leaning more towards?
I'm gonna lean towards more drafting one in the back ends of the draft because getting a reliable backup, especially somebody who's a winner in college, who did it in college, and he might not get as much love as the other top tier quarterbacks in this draft class get. So, like, I give you an example. This is why I wanted Stetson Bennett so bad last year, but the Rams got him at
Yeah,
pick 128 in the fourth round last year. And when I was at the draft this past year, you should have seen the reaction of everybody. Even all of Kansas City was like, "What? The Rams got him?"
I
And
was shocked that the Rams picked him too, so I'm with you on that.
oh my gosh. So this is the one of the reasons why I wanted him. I don't care if he was 26 coming into the league and everything else like that. Of course, Brandon Wheaton's of the world and all that. But from 2021 to 2022, he was at Georgia. Bennett has put up much dominant numbers with the Bulldogs, throwing 56 touchdown passes to just 14 interceptions, along with quarterbacking the Bulldogs to 2 consecutive national championships, going 28-1 as a starter in that span. That's impressive. And even this past season was the year of the backup quarterback, man. And like Drew Lock, somebody I mentioned in one of the articles as well as somebody who I wanted, connecting with Jackson Smith and Nick Jabba for on Monday Night Football against the Eagles on that 29-yard touchdown pass. There was also Case Keenum who backed up CJ Stroud. These were guys who backed up playoff team quarterbacks. And experience, wins, productions are key factors. If not traits, but Bennett displayed those at Georgia. That's one of the reasons why we go and lean towards drafting the guy, and yeah, look at proven winner veterans, guys who are backup, spot starter type of guys. That's the thing you're looking for. So speaking of that, like looking at a young guy and develop too, especially now where Mahomes is at in his age, he's 2 years away from being 30, man, which is crazy. He still kind of looks like
Yeah.
the young Mahomes as when we seen him first come into the league, but he's not getting any younger. So this is one of the things that before we get into the next topic, I looked up this thing that about Bill Parcells that he once said, and I'm like, yeah, Bill Parcells was one of those guys, and I respect him as one of those great football minds. And he wrote this about his 4 quarterback rules. And I think this applies to almost every team where they look for a quarterback, especially coming out of college. He must be a senior because you need time to develop and maturity develop into a good professional quarterback. Um, he must be a graduate because you want someone who has takes his responsibilities very seriously. He must be a 3-year starter because you don't want his success to be for nothing and just to prove that he was the guy, especially within those 3 years. And there's a lot of guys with 3, 4 year starters. And last but not least, Ham must at least win 23 games in his career because big passing numbers must come in the context of winning ball games. And then in this next topic, these are these guys who express those rules. And you also got to remember, Andy Reid is currently the game's best quarterback teacher, coaching Brett Favre, Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, Mahomes, Alex Smith, Kevin Cobb, Nick Foles, and even revived Jeff Garcia's career at one point. And us with the Chiefs, they understand the importance of the backup quarterback position and also getting the players who give you the best chance to win while keeping an eye on the future and player development. And that's for example, the Patriots when they saw in Tom Brady when there were 3 quarterbacks ahead of Tom Brady in the 6th round on the depth chart, but the Patriots were willing to keep him as the 4th quarterback on the 53-man roster, which was unheard of at that time because they saw something special in Tom Brady and didn't want any other team to get his talent. So
Okay. So with that being said, let's get into some options that we have as we are moving forward. Let's say we don't keep Blaine Gabbert. What are some options that you have put forth that we should pursue? Get into it.
all right. So I did my research about this thing, and I was looking for certain backups, guys who has proven themselves in the league. So there were 2 veterans that have caught my mind, and there were 3 rookies coming into this draft class of 2024 that have caught my attention. That I think that kind of give you a little, especially the rookies, give you a little Brock Purdy like energy. Especially, I got respect for Brock Purdy the way he played last night. He probably might be one of the best quarterback performance against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl that we've ever played against, and he did well, and he played just like what I thought about him, and he held his own. So, speaking of that, one of those veterans I really like is Jacoby Brissett from the Washington Commanders. Brissett is a veteran, but at 31, he can still be a long-term investment at the backup position. We guys remember him in 2019 when he was the quarterback of the Colts that game, where they beat us at Arrowhead and, Justin Houston sacked us. That year, posted a 18 of 4 touchdown to interception ratio while also rushing for 228 yards rushing. He won 2 games as a starter for the Dolphins in 2021. And last but not least, he had a very strong 2022 season with the Cleveland Browns. He had a 75.2 Pro Football Focus passing grade, ranked 12th among quarterbacks with at least 100 attempts in the 2022 season. He was top 10 in big time throw rate at 4.9, almost 5%. And he had a 243 yards rushing on the ground at 5 yards per carry, often coming into the game for short yardage situations, coming into either run the ball or provide a threat of a runner. And he has a record of 18 and 30 in 8 seasons, back up for the Patriots. Got, I believe, a ring or 2 with the Patriots backing up Tom Brady or being the 3rd
Yeah.
quarterback, especially with Garoppolo. He has thrown 51 touchdown passes, 23 interceptions in that span of his career. Should the Chiefs take him, they're bringing in a high character, reliable quarterback that is a better version of what the Chiefs have in current backup Blaine Gabbert. And if he was going to do a projected value of what his contract might be worth, like they could give him like a 2-year deal worth 4.5 million, that could be worth up to 6.5 million, and his base salary could be 1 million, just like Blaine Gabbert was last year, and annually his contract could be worth up to 2.25 to $3 million.
Let me make this clear for everybody that's listening. I understand we still just running high off of a Super Bowl. I definitely get it. But when you're in a war room, Brett Veach ain't here celebrating like the rest of us. He's still
Nope,
working. He's
it's
still
still work.
working. And as we're putting on our GM caps, we're kind of doing the same thing. I know everybody's still high off of a Super Bowl win, which we should be. But
I'm
the
wearing my ring right now, so yeah,
yeah,
like
but we got to realize we got to keep it moving. We got to keep building for next
keep
year to
the dynasty going.
keep the dynasty moving. So that's why we're still moving forward. We keeping it moving. So, um, Joseph, you saw what he made. You heard what he made and all that. So he said that's a no brainer. Then that's a no brainer. Let's move on to our number two guy. You said Jacoby was number one. That's one of your
Mhm.
first options. What's your number two option?
Number two, this one might be a little pricey, but it might work in our favor in a way, especially knowing Andy Reid being a quarterback guru for what he is. So we all remember the Dallas Cowboys pulled off a shocker last August, acquiring former number third overall pick Trey Lance from the San Francisco 49ers in exchange for a 2024 fourth round pick. So Lance would back up Dak Prescott. And we all know Aaron Rodgers couldn't return from week one after his injury with the New York Jets in his debut. He's set to return this upcoming season. And not only that, but with a clean slate of backups on the depth, all signs point to former first round pick Zach Wilson exiting via trade. And according to ESPN, though some league executives only anticipate Wilson fetching a late rounder in return. Though he is 3 seasons removed from going number two overall, going just 12 and 21 in three abbreviated seasons as a starter, completing just 57% of his throws along the way. He's still 24 and currently has more upside than Blaine Gabbert and even Chris Oladunkin. And I like Oladunkin better than Gabbert, but with so much room to improve. Wilson was unfairly compared to Patrick Mahomes coming out of BYU. We all remember the comparisons. Oh, the next Patrick Mahomes, Zach Wilson. But there wouldn't be a better mentor for the physically gifted youngster. Casey hasn't developed a long-term backup for Mahomes, either with Gabbert trying to replace Chad anything is possible Henney as the veteran number two this past season. The BY connection between Andy Reid and Wilson could bring them together as well. So Lance was traded to Dallas from San Fran for a 2024 fourth round pick. I could see the same deal happening potentially if the Chiefs were to make the same move. The price for Wilson may be a little too rich for the Chiefs' blood, considering he would receive a veteran salary benefit with a $1.055 million base salary this upcoming season, but he would count $5.4 million against the cap if the Chiefs were to trade for him. That means they will have his contractual rights through 2025 if they exercise the fifth-year option. But although that's going to be very pricey, a fifth-year option is almost 19 million this
Yeah,
upcoming year for him. And however, the Chiefs can extend Wilson to a potential like 2 year deal. Let's say like 2 years, $5 million, keeping him from hitting free agency in 2025 if they were to make this happen. Wilson would embrace the chance to learn under Andy Reid. There are a lot of qualities that make him appealing as a long-term solution to back up Mahomes. He also offers the Chiefs a young arm to develop, giving Mahomes a partner who can help Wilson with processing mentally and also reading defenses. Should the Chiefs trade him, he offers some security, though, in the event Mahomes suffers an injury or can't play. Beyond that, he'll be a well-known backup. If his time in the Big Apple proves anything, he could be a supportive understudy with big play potential. And like I said before, a day three pick would be a good gamble for the Chiefs. And yesterday, before the big game, I talked to Spot Track, the official Spot Track people on X, and they told
yes,
me Zach Wilson has a fully guaranteed 5.4 million. As I mentioned, that's how much the Chiefs would have to pay if they traded for him bonus this upcoming year, and his 19 million ish fifth year bonus needs to be decided on by May. And his projected
right.
value, fourth round pick to probably a conditional fourth round pick, and the new team acquires him, gets 1 year, $5 million, basically.
So with the idea of Zach Wilson, like I know we know what Andy Reid can do with a quarterback. We've seen it, we've heard it, we know what he can do with a quarterback. We've seen him do it with you've mentioned a few names, Jeff Garrett Garcia, Kevin Cobb, so forth and so on. Revived Michael Vick's career, turned him into a pure passer, a pocket passer almost. But Zach Wilson was when you mentioned him originally, I was like, I don't know about that. But then I started thinking about it. I said, um,
Hey, it's
um,
cool, Joe. Hey,
then I started thinking about it. If you could get him from the Jets,
right.
renegotiate the deal or extend him to a number that suits you a little bit better,
Mhm.
this could be a viable option. He could be a viable option. He's already learned from Aaron Rodgers, and we saw some of his good traits against us last season. We
Yes.
saw him probably play the best football he's ever played against us last season. So, getting him in a less visceral room quarterback room than the guy who came to replace him, but him getting the pressure off him himself to be the starter and go to a guy who has developed quarterbacks as a head coach over a guy who was a defensive coordinator by trade. And I can't even think of his name for the Jets head coach, Robert Saleh.
Robert
Uh,
Saleh.
Andy Reid knows QBs inside and out. He helps them. And having Patrick Mahomes teach a young quarterback could probably help even Patrick Mahomes for real. If we're gonna be honest, they say the best way to
Yeah,
learn. They say the best way to learn is to teach. So
yeah,
that could be a a good thing for them. But you know, I understand why Joe says no. Like I definitely get why he
yeah.
says no because I mean I'm not a because I
He's
thought the
crazy.
first thing originally when you mentioned him and of course the cap number and all those things. Um, I'd vote to use the extra 3.5 million for a great ride, and I'm not here to argue that for real.
Me neither. Me neither.
Let's let's get into let's get into the next one. Who is a guy that you would draft instead of going the veteran route, you went because and I normally try to challenge you on certain things. You
Yeah,
decided to go two veterans versus three rookies or three potential rookies. So
yeah.
let's get into the next one.
All right, here come the three upcoming rookies, and we're gonna begin with rookie number one, but quarterback number three, a 2023 candidate for the Heisman Trophy, finishing fifth behind Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr., and the eventual winner, Jayden Daniels. Florida State quarterback Jordan Travis was taking the NCAA by storm, leading the Seminoles to an 11-0 before suffering a serious leg injury against North Alabama. It was ultimately what kept Florida State out of the college football playoff. Justified or not, it showed how important Travis was to that program. Um, Through his first 11 starts, he completed about 64% of his passes through 20 touchdown passes to just two interceptions, while contributing 160 yards and seven more scores on the ground. He is highly anticipated return to the field is no secret, especially whatever he lands in the draft at 6'1", 212 pounds. Very good athlete with strong character. Travis is poised in the pocket, a smooth operator on the move to make plays with his arms and with his on his legs that would get Andy Reid's attention. He might not have the ceiling of a Pro Bowl level starting quarterback, but there is real value in having a number two guy who can run the offense, especially a player that has won 29 out of 39 games as a starter in college, winning 74% of games. That's like winning 12 to 13 games in a 17 game slate in the NFL and allow the team to win games. Travis can do that for Kansas City early in his career, giving the Chiefs a decent insurance option if 15 were to ever go down. And that's something we're not wanting to ever hope or anything, but we need to have contingency plans in place. Jordan Travis's draft weekend will be interesting to monitor as the talent is certainly worth going as early as day two, but the medicals could really scare teams off. So this is the scenario if you like wanted to bring back Blaine Gabbert. They could bring comfortable with bringing him back, even though he'll be 35 in October. Bringing him back for a potential 1 year. So that way, such an arrangement would permit Travis a season to heal if needed, developing into the long-term solution to back up Mahomes, maybe become that trade person like what Kirk Cousins originally was drafted to be. If they seriously was looking to add through the draft, he should be on that list for consideration. My player comparison of him was Tua Tagovailoa. Accurate, both got very good releases on their throws. They're mobile, but there's the durability concerns coming out of college. They both had, Tua first rounder, but Jordan Travis was had first round grade, but now could be like a fourth, fifth round guy. Speaking of that, that's why I believe his worth is. I believe his worth is fourth through sixth round. He would be a steal at the fifth round pick, 162, where the Chiefs pick, which would be like a contract getting 4 years for $4.15 million, base salary 750,000, and making about $1 million annually.
Yeah,
So
and that's actually not a bad pick. I don't like the injury history. When you originally brought this one up, I like the idea of Jordan Travis, but the injury history is what really kind of soured me on him. Um, but I still don't think it's a bad decision. I don't think it's a bad decision. I like the price point, and he would theoretically also get the chance to heal, especially if you're doing this for the future. If you were able to keep Blaine for this year and then let him heal, have him be the third guy on the roster, and then move him up, I don't dislike that. Let's move on to your fourth pick.
all right, number four, and none other than Michael Pratt from Tulane, the Tulane Green Wave. Pratt has been regarded as a potential NFL draft sleeper as a true freshman in 2020. Pratt threw for 1,800 yards, 20 touchdown passes, and just 8 interceptions. And he grew criminally each year. He's gotten better. His output and accuracy improved over each year across his first 3 seasons as a starter. He completed 545 of 921 attempts, 59% of passes completed for 7,205 yards, 68 touchdowns, and just 21 interceptions. In 2023, despite missing several games due to an injury, he finished with 2,400 yards, 22 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, finishing with 27 wins in 44 career starts, winning about 61% of his games in his career. He is a well built player. He boasts a solid athletic profile that allows him to find success in and out of the pocket. He pairs his athleticism with his above average arm talent that makes him capable of challenging defenses with some throws off platform other than swing from the pocket when facing pressure. He does a good job of executing how he was taught to throw the football. He has enough athleticism to get out of tough situations from the pocket and makes plays either where he's throwing or making plays while he extends the drives with his legs. He has a only his only knock is really like his above average arm or anything else like that. It's nothing against his game, and he is capable of escaping from the pocket and throwing on the run. But he's not a dynamic playmaker at all, and he needs to work on his ball placement and play with consistent mechanics when operating from the pocket. He has those Kirk Cousin like traits, but probably isn't ready to play at the NFL level just yet. But there are traits that will make him valuable as in the quarterback room as he grows and develops. And Pratt is lightly drafted a little earlier in day three before Brett Veach and company lightly considers him. If the Chiefs do select him, he would be a very good long-term solution to Mahomes. And my player comparison is Kirk Cousins. Both can dominate in offenses in short and intermediate passing concepts with a little mixture of the play action, especially to find somebody wide open and throw it deep. And he's a third to fifth round projected value. He could get like a 4 year, $4.5 million contract, especially if he was selected in the fourth round.
Not a bad one right here. The injury history concerns me, but I football is going to be a lot of injury history. Um, I didn't know a lot about Michael Pratt. I don't really look at Tulane Green Wave like that, but I do see some players from there, and he wasn't the first one that came to my mind. But I do I do like the idea that he can throw from an inconsistent platform. He can figure that out. I like the thought process of him being able to roll and do all those things. Not my first choice of these picks though, but yeah, like I said, I don't know as much about him as you would do, but let's just see what your last pick is and go from there.
All right. And last but not least, shout out to my dear friend Jacqueline Anderson, who I work with at the Self Advocate Coalition of Kansas. Because of me, I've got her into well, she's been a fan of football, but she also looks at the players because either they're cute or whatever. But this one in particular, she likes this one here, and I looked at his film and I said, okay, he could be somebody, and could be like almost like the sunshine of the Chiefs or something like that. I don't know, but originally a 4-year starter for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons, Sam Hartman was incredibly productive, setting multiple school records in the process. The ACC's all-time leader in touchdown passes, with 110 touchdown passes, elected to finish his career in South Bend for the Fighting Irish. An opportunity to show that he can operate in a traditional offense instead of the unconventional Wake Forest scheme because Notre Dame relies more on rhythm and timing. And Hartman threw for 2,689 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and 8 interceptions in 12 games, which is a very good stat line for a player like him. And part of that reason was that Hartman transferred to Notre Dame was to gain experience in the pro style system. He fits the mold of your prototypical backup quarterback in terms of size, just like Jordan Travis, 6'1", 212 pounds, but he's more durable and he has great athleticism with a well above average arm, which creates some very good velocity on the pass instead of pushing the ball downfield. He clearly has trust in his arm and he can make all the throws. Running is also an added bonus to his passing prowess, and has the ability to make full reads, but is a very consistent with the RPO, the read pass options. Over the recent years, the RPO has taken the NFL by storm, and the defending champions since 2018 have run the highest percentage of RPOs since that span since Mahomes started. And it also helps Sam Howell, who is my pro player comparison to Hartman, that's how he became a better quarterback when working with Eric Bieniemy when he implemented the RPO style offense to Washington last season, because Hal came out of an RPO system from North Carolina, but there's still some things that Harmon needs to work on, just like Hal did, which was footwork, their touch, their ability to read more complex defenses, etc. Hartman doesn't have a strong arm like that, but he is a very good arm, but not strong. He can't zip it into tight windows, and that will be a hindrance on NFL teams at the college level. You can get away with that, but in the pro game, you can't. In the deep passing game, his biggest issue is overshooting intended targets. It only takes a handful of plays before a ball, sails over someone's head. And one of his largest flaws is getting stuck on the first read, slow to flip the switch to another read on his progressions. And if that first target isn't open, it could lead to a lot of trouble later on the play, like an interception. And he participated in the Senior Bowl. According to Pro Football Focus, he showed off his athleticism with some nice scrambles through the week of practice during the Senior Bowl. And whether it was in the red zone or the 2-minute drills, Hartman showed that he isn't afraid or incapable of keeping a defense honest with his mobility. He also has made impressive touch passes over the intermediate areas, but when throwing next to Nix and Penix Jr., it was clear that his arm doesn't have the same level of juice like those two. But he's also on the older side. He'll be 24 years old, which is the same age as Zach Wilson, who's already 3 years into the league. And but Hardman, as I look at him, he'll likely be a third string practice squad quarterback his rookie season. I still think that there are some teams that would value a quarterback with his skill set, even with a schematic limitation to it. He's the type of player, as I mentioned, the Chiefs should look near in the back end of the draft or in undrafted free agency period to select, develop him into a quality backup. who is durable, winning 34 out of 57 starts in his career, which is above 500, which is 59% winning of his games, and has the intelligence to operate within the system. Like I said, my player comparison is Sam Howell. Both use their mobility in the RPO game, play action with heavy run while learning nuances of manipulating the pocket. His worth projected worth value is 6th round pick to priority free agent. If he was selected like in the 7th round for the Chiefs, he'd probably get like a 4-year, $3.7 million deal, making $900,000 annually. But if he was an undrafted guy, he would get a 3-year deal, $2.7 million. Making 900 annually as well. But
Man,
making him a real inexpensive backup quarterback on the Chiefs roster at least through 2026.
I think this was an interesting one. I don't know if I like the arm strength. Um, I don't know if I like that, especially considering that uh, he overthrows competitors, and I mean he overthrows receivers sometimes. I don't know if I like that, but I do consider him one of the more attainable backups as far as low draft pick value, but high player upside as a QB2 in years to come. I didn't want to spend more than a 4th round pick on a quarterback. Personally, that's my thought process. But those are your 5 QBs from either uh, free agent standpoint um, or drafting. Now I know with Jacoby Brissett, you might have a bit of competition from other teams because he is a proven backup.
Yes.
He was a proven backup, and he's been with the Commanders, and you mentioned a bunch of teams he's been with. So you might have a little bit of competition there, and they might be willing to pay him a little bit more.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I think I'm not sure which one I like the best, but these are your 5 backup QB options. And just for the sake of time, we're going to move on.
Yes, sir.
Just for the sake of time, because this thing lasts about 45 minutes to an hour. So now we get into PMAX mock draft. We end the show every time with a mock draft. Now, from the beginning of the football season to up until April, the draft is key. And the
Hmm.
draft is key to figuring out how you're going to build your team moving forward. And it
Sure.
can make or break your team because these draft picks are, I hate to say it like this, but I'm going to. It's the cheap option to build your team. It's probably the cheapest option to build your team. So, with that being said, let's get into last but not least what we end the show with every time PMAX mock draft. Take it away.
All righty. So you gave me a challenge to do last week, and I took that challenge to heart. And I went back to my Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator, and I decided to propose a trade in the top 10 to go get um, the guy that I want the Chiefs to get, because protecting the quarterback in the NFL is vital to success. That is why the second most crucial offensive position in the NFL or in all of football is left tackle, due to the presence of dangerous pass rushers on the quarterback's blind side. Premier left tackles are capable of snuffing out dynamic rushers without assistance, and decision makers are always on the hunt for nimble pass protectors with great skill set. Since 2020, since 2021, the Chiefs have invested heavily in their offensive line, spending on above average amount of money and draft capital, as getting Donovan Smith last season, also drafting Wanye Morris, getting Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey in the NFL draft of 2021, picking up Joe Tooney in last season, picking up last offseason, getting Jawan Taylor on a 4-year, $80 million deal, but played on a $1 million salary. And, those things have definitely done really good for us. And the signing of Taylor, and some saw the upside of Wanye Morris, but you still got to understand we're still in the AFC West, and teams need two quality tackles. The Chiefs have to play against Max Crosby, Joey Bosa twice, and don't be surprised you see Khalil Mack twice a year going to the Silver and Black reunite with Tom Telesco. And the starter, Jawan Taylor did his thing this season, but he still led the league in penalties, but he's no match in one-on-one situations against the elite pass rushers. So with such a premium place on keeping the quarterback out of harm's way, it is no surprise that teams have made it a priority to draft offensive tackles. So, and don't forget, we missed out on Trent Williams before. And I wanted us to get Broderick Jones last season, but this is what I think.
Yes, I liked Broderick Jones last season
Yeah,
too, but the Steelers were
yeah.
able to get him.
Absolutely. So what I think is the Chiefs might do the same type of thing they did in 2017 to move up into the top 10 to get Mahomes. But I don't think it's like going to be too much. But this time is for a premier left tackle on a rookie deal and is one of the top 3 at the position. And he is truly one of my favorite players even from last year, because if he had left last season from Penn State, he would have been a first rounder along with Jones and those other guys. And that's none other than Olu Fashanu, the left tackle from Penn State. He is one of the best. Um, this is what I did. I sent the Chiefs 32nd overall pick, and probably might send a third round pick as well if they want to add value. And next year's 2025 first round pick in return for the 10th overall pick to get Fashanu, who is a team captain, a 2-year starter inside Penn State's balance 54-46 run split zone base scheme, and the Chiefs run a zone base scheme as well. He had 18 career starts as a left tackle. He was the Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year. He hasn't allowed a sack in more than 680 pass protection snaps over the last 2 seasons. A team captain that was a finalist for the Kimball Award, and a 3-time Dean's List honoree. He graduated in this past December. He plays like a true prototypical left tackle, got the size, the length, the build, athleticism, the strength, the power. They're all elite, especially probably better than Joe Alt from Notre Dame, who's
Mhm.
also one of them top 2 along with him. Not only are his physical traits extraordinary, his skill set in terms of sustaining blocks, his hand usage, his zone and man blocking, his use of leverage, and his efficiency are all equally impressive. My comparison of him is Trent Williams. Both very solid left tackle prospects, like Williams coming out of Oklahoma. Fashanu has a lot to improve in the run game. Williams had the same situation coming out of Oklahoma. Now Williams is considered one of the best run blockers in the NFL, especially being among the best left tackles in the NFL. Fashanu has the same potential, and giving Andy Heck, our offensive line coach, a 21-year-old that will remind him of Williams will be music to his ears in terms of turning him into the player that he wants him to be. And Fashanu is exactly the type of offensive tackle that the Chiefs are looking for. Like, we missed out on Penei Sewell. This is like getting and making up for not getting Penei Sewell. He is a massive player that has the great length, the explosiveness, and given the need to continue to protect Mahomes while giving Pacheco more room to run, the 6'6", 319-pound Fashanu would be the Chiefs' first round, top 10 overall pick at the offensive line position since Eric Fisher, but better. If he was drafted in the top 10, his contract value would be like a 4-year deal, almost worth $22 million, basically making $5 million annually. So
Here's my thing on that. What did we give up to get this? 'Cause keep in mind, this Pro Football Focus had us at 31 at the 31 first pick. So what did you move up to get? What was the trade value? What was the trade for that for to move up to 10?
actually, both ones, 32 and next year's 2025 pick, just to
So
move up in the top 10.
so understand it was a similar situation for that we did in 2017 to get to eventually draft Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So here's my thing. First of all, I will always compare drafting up into the top 10 to that pick, the pick that eventually changes franchise whole trajectory. All right. I will always compare that pick to that. And I never and unless I think he's going to be that generational, I'm not going there. I'm not going to that 10th pick.
Right.
But I looked at this dude and he's a beast. I when you told me who he was, I was like, okay, let me look it up. Dude's a beast. Dude's a beast. And
He could have been number in the first round last season.
he has a lot of the Osimile traits that I enjoyed. Because I saw Osimile when he was playing, and I was like, man, this is the guy I want. And if you could pair him by because he's left, and
Mhm.
Trey is right, but you get two of those downhill maulers on the football field on the
Yep.
same line with him and Trey, because you got Trey for one more year before you have to sign him to a deal. Um, uh, he got him on that rookie deal, but him and Trey on the line together could be just amazing. Okay, so I like the idea of moving up to get him specifically. Okay, I definitely like the idea of moving up to get him specifically, but I'm gonna let you know. Anytime we talking about moving into the top 10 pick, I have to compare the pick itself
It's
to
gonna be
how
it's gonna
good they're gonna be compared to what Patrick Mahomes has got to be, because that's the comparison here. He was the ultimate top 10 pick, in my opinion,
Mhm.
especially
Absolutely.
for this team. But I do like this pick, and I did challenge you to get us a left tackle. I didn't tell you how to do it. I just told you to go get it. So
Yeah.
I definitely like the pick, and there's your 2024 mock draft 3.0.
Yes, sir.
Well, that is the end of the show. I definitely appreciate you. We had 56 minutes, so I definitely appreciate you. Any last words before we leave?
Well, in closing, I just want to say follow the Chiefs Focus Live YouTube channel. Check out Chiefs Focus Live with JP, Caleb, Quentin, and sometimes you might see Thiz on there on Thursdays and on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel and don't miss any of this content. Also, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on X and just go to cheesefocus.com, check out some of our other content, especially our articles. And that's basically all I got to say. And we'll have a week off the next week. But when we come back, we'll get you guys ready for with information of the NFL Combine and also going into this new league year, man, because we're about almost a month away from the new league year starting.
So yes, we like he said, we will take a week off just to enjoy what it is the Chiefs, another Chiefs victory, Super Bowl 58. And so we are going to take a week off to enjoy it, and then we'll be back the week afterwards, and we'll have a brand new, a spanking new War Room show for you, and we will love it. We will love it, and we hope you guys do too. Uh, with that, that's all we have for this
That's right.
episode. And if there's nothing else that calls our attention, if there's nothing else that calls our attention, then as I say, deuces.
Deuces back to back, baby.
Yes, indeed.